So around 6 months ago, when I saw Asus announce this handheld, I was pretty hyped, but there was always something that was in the back of my mind. All the promises felt like respectable, noteworthy additions that looked exciting, but at the same time, all the top comments in the announcement video were not great. This is around the time Gamers Nexus dropped their video about their undercover investigation on Asus's malicious warranty process.
Is that a lie?
So to say that community trust was at a low point for Asus is an understatement. Not only did the previous Ally have a critical SD card reader failure, but in general, it's tough to ask people to trust a company who's been so shady with their actions in the past. I said in my original review, don't pre-order it until they wake up and address these problems head on, and then we see what happens. Because with the amount of resources and revenue Asus has, this shouldn't be a problem. So what has happened since then? This is a Windows-based $800 handheld with an 80 watt-hour battery, 120 Hz 1080p LCD panel, and the entire unit essentially got tuned up and upgraded over the traditional Ally without being a complete refresh. They doubled the battery, improved the ergonomics, same chip, but could you trust this thing wouldn't spontaneously nuke itself? Now, one of the largest complaints at launch with the first Ally was a software solution. It was buggy, it wasn't really streamlined, sleep to wake was unreliable. One of the reasons why I bought the Steam Deck at the time is because Valve had already fixed a lot of their initial growing pains, and the experience was solid. But since then, the team over at Asus has been nonstop on the ball with updates on this. They have realistically polished Armory Crate into feeling like a legit software suite that you can rely on nowadays. Gyro support was added, the stick dead zones out of the box are no longer an issue. I can pause a game and put it to sleep, come back days later and resume right where I left off. And that just wasn't the case in my initial experience with the Ally. It felt like Asus was beta testing this thing, unfortunately on their customers. Windows is still a hurdle that these dev teams have to combat to make the experience feel fluid. You're taking an OS that's built for a mouse and keyboard and then placing it on a handheld console, and sometimes it creates an experience that makes you just want to punt this thing into the sky. Now, recently, Bakelite has become a very popular alternative to Windows on these handhelds, which can basically give you a SteamOS experience, but with the added horsepower of the Ally X. Still not fully there yet, but it definitely has opened the door for people that either want to dual boot or just use Bakelite and not have to deal with Windows at all, which has 100% improved the experience. Asus has made this a much more flexible and tunable platform. You can use full-size SSDs now. There's options within the settings to optimize power draw and tweak it depending on the titles you're playing. Eco Assist disables the CPU boost clock, which can push the battery life even further in the lighter games. So you can see that the Ally X has its target set to compete with the Steam Deck OLED, and of course, the displays are vastly different. Some people are going to prefer OLED's infinite contrast, the inky black levels, the HDR support, but then again, Asus has the Ally X, which is, in my opinion, the best fast-paced gaming display. It has variable refresh rate support, 120 Hz. It's super crispy, like 1080p at 7 inches is a great spot to be, and you don't have to deal with any of the weird scaling issues since it's using a 16:9 screen. But really, the thing that's selling the Ally X, the Lenovo Legion Go, is performance. Some people just want more performance than a Steam Deck. And honestly, you can get there, but you have to usually sacrifice battery life. Battery life is still a limiting factor on most handheld devices nowadays. So channel sponsor Ugreen just dropped their Uno wireless power bank 15 watt, and it's been seriously clutch for bringing on the go if you don't want to haul around a traditional big battery bank. It's got you covered for charging multiple devices like an iPhone natively magnetically with a 15 watt power delivery that's Qi 2 certified. I've brought it with me as a minimal setup lately since it can just snap to the back of my phone plus charge any handheld. It has a 10,000 milliamp hour capacity, and you can charge an iPhone 16 Pro 1.6 times, according to their numbers. There's a TFT smart display in the back where you can just monitor battery percentages. It changes the face depending on the charging status, and the whole build is foldable, so you can use it as a stand. Really just a neat little product that's keeping everything compact and portable. If you are interested in checking out these fast and fun charging accessories for the new iPhone, don't miss out on Ugreen's Black Friday deals. I'll have links to Ugreen's drop in the description below. Now, Asus has managed to keep basically the same form factor. Shout out to the engineering team for doubling the battery. But there's also 24 gigs of faster RAM, 1 terabyte of storage out of the box, dual USB-C ports, and Thunderbolt support, which is actually really compelling for people out there that want a dock setup with an external GPU. The optimizations made on the driver level with AMD makes this one of the best handheld performers out there right now. While it's not as efficient as a Steam Deck, like having 80 watt hours versus 50 is obviously gonna win out, I can actually feel confident bringing this on the go and not having to worry about plugging it in ASAP, so it's been a game changer for long trips. Asus has been prioritizing FSR and RSR, which both basically use the same upscaling algorithm to render games at a lower resolution, but maintain the visuals with the added benefit of less of a performance hit. Fluid motion frames is still a work in progress. Latency is improving, but when you're playing at that native resolution, combined with the refined ergonomics, really good thumbsticks that don't feel loose like before, it provides the handheld experience that manages to stay immersive without all the crippling factors we're used to dealing with. Battery is best in class. It's beating my Steam Decks right now and delivering more performance and compatibility for all titles. It stays quiet. The fan curves are even better. Cooling is excellent. They have done an admittedly good job with this. Despite all the controversies that have been present over the past year and years with Asus, it's all the little intangibles that all contribute to the current state it's in today. The support's gotten better. I can't fully speak on how much better Asus's RMA and customer service process has gotten, but I feel like overall I don't see as many Ally X or Ally units being reported as being defective anymore. I have 2 units and they haven't had any hardware defects or issues in general, and I think that the future of Asus's handheld division is promising if they can maintain this support. I'm really glad that we have quality competitors like this that are pushing the industry to innovate. Valve is doing their own thing with the Steam Decks and now becoming much more globally available. So it's just a great time to be in this space, but it's always good to do your research and question before you invest into a platform. I said back in June, don't pre-order this. And today I'd tell you, it's worth a look, keeping in mind all the factors from the past, but fingers crossed we see more positive changes going into next year with true next generation hardware. But all we can do is hope for the best. So big thanks for watching. Please let me know your experience with the original Ally and the Ally X down below. I'd love to hear about it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.